My Nabla powder blushes are finally in. They were supposed to be delivered yesterday, but they didn't come. And now I have the 4 blushes that I ordered here in front of me. I'm very excited to try them. Didn't expect this launch, but now we're here. And these are called the Close Up Blurring Powder Blush. And I'm very intrigued, so let's get into it. So Nabla is definitely in their blurring era. I recently did a video lip swatching all the blurry lipsticks that they just came out with. And now we also have blushes. I got all the shades that I thought that I was gonna use. And I'm gonna be showing you close-ups swatches on my arm, but I'm also gonna apply all of them on my cheeks so that we get a really good idea of what these blushes are like. So let's start with the color Enigma. And this is a mauve cool tone blush. By the way, the packaging of this is very interesting. I quite like it. I quite like the vibe of this kind of like see-through matte-ish plastic. And you know, these blushes are smaller than I was expecting them to be, but these are gonna be like super travel friendly. Like these are very, very compact blushes. There is a 5 gram in these blushes. And that is the same as, for example, a Kaleidos Mono blush. And these are like much thicker, bigger. So I think they did a pretty good job with the packaging here. They're easy to open, easy to close. And yeah, this is a pretty cool toned shade. It almost has something a little berry in it, very mauve, very muted. I think this is gonna be a really nice one for if you don't want the blush to steal the show too much. These feel and look very matte in the swatch. So yeah, very excited to see what this will look like on the cheeks. We also have the shade Endorphin, and this one I was very excited about because this is a red shade. And I don't have that many red blushes in my collection, but I do really like the idea of it. I think a red blush can just be so beautiful and also kind of like bronzy, like mix it in kind of like with your bronzer, get a little bit of that sunburn natural look. Then I think the one that's the most in my comfort zone is gonna be the shade Petite, and this is just that very typical cool tone pink blush shade, the like very cool toned Dior blush dupe-ish, I'm guessing. By the way, what I do like about this, like, okay, this is a pretty typical color, but I do like that in a sea of cream and balmy and glowy and liquid blushes and just super glowy blushes, we are getting matte blurry blushes. Like, if you are not into the glowy blushes, like, this is a pretty difficult time to find new blushes to add to your collection. So this is getting pretty excited. Like, sometimes we're just seeing the same thing over and over and over again, and I'm kind of like, we've seen it. Like, not every brand has to release every product. Not every brand has to release glowy blushes this year, even though I do love me a glowy blush, but it's nice to review something else sometimes. And then the last shade that I picked up is gonna be Lucky Rose, and this is a darker pink. Also really love the way this packaging looks. I, by the way, love that they did the components in the colors of the blushes. Like, it's gonna be so easy to pick out the blush that you want from your drawer, and I really like it. And like, they put some effort into this packaging. Like, they could have gone the easy route and do everything the same color. This pink is a little bit warmer, but still gives the like Barbie pink vibes. I think this is gonna be very, very cool as well. Okay, we're just gonna be starting with some application. And right now I don't have anything on my face except a little bit of concealer on some blemishes. I'm gonna do the first 2 shades on my bare skin, and then I'll probably do the next 2 shades on a little bit of a skin tint, just to see what that does for this formula. So I want to start out with the first shade that I showed you, the Enigma shade. And I'm also not gonna be applying a bronzer first, because I just feel like sometimes I get kind of mess with how your blush is looking. Because if your bronzer is a little bit more glowy, a little bit more creamy, that's gonna like change the way your blush looks. I am gonna use the Singe Beauty F06, and I'm gonna start out by taking just a little bit. This is a pretty like powdery looking formula. Like, it seems pretty powdery, like not looking on the skin, we don't know that yet, but it seems pretty powdery when picking it up. Okay, that is pretty pigmented. Let's see if it's gonna be easy to blend. Very matte. Is it blurring? Gonna apply a little more. Definitely kind of like mattifying. I do feel like there is this fine line for myself where I sometimes feel like some blushes are so mattifying that it kind of starts looking unnatural on myself, for myself. Like the matte blushes that I like the most are from Kiko Milano. Like they really have that skin-like matte finish down. And I'm just kind of like building this up. It looks like a really nice natural shade. I do feel like it is blurring. I feel like that is looking pretty good. Is it the most perfecting matte formula that I've ever tried? I don't know. But I feel like that's very, very flattering. I still see kind of like the slight glowiness of my skin through it. It's not as matte as the Flower Nose blushes. Those are the mattest blushes that I have tried. Should I apply a little more? I'm gonna take this off anyway, because I'm gonna be using the other blushes next. I love applying my blush pretty high towards my under eye. I've just been enjoying that. And so that is Enigma. I quite like how this is looking on the skin. I quite like this color. I feel like for a mauve shade, it has something quite bronzy still. By the way, my forehead is so shiny. I find it distracting. The longer I am wearing this blush, the longer this blush is on my face, the more I am actually really liking it. It feels as if it's kind of like meshing with my skin in a very nice natural way. Then let's continue to the red shade, the shade called Endorphin. Very interesting names. They don't seem to all match. Like I don't really see exactly what the idea was here. I'm gonna clean off my brush. I'm gonna use them all with the same brush, just to be fair. Wow, okay, they are the same formula, so maybe that doesn't really count, but that's just what we're gonna do. I felt like this brush worked really well with this formula. This seems very, very pigmented. So I just dipped in once and I am just gonna start out with that. Because I'm pretty fair. I don't know how well this shade is gonna blend out on me. Okay, I'm loving this. It seems to have a little bit of a pinky undertone. Like it's not, like it's almost a little bit of a rosy red. It's not a red that is like that corally, orangey undertone. That is really cute. I think I might like that more on myself, personally. But I like a fresh blush. Like a fresh color. So this is gonna be the red one. I'm kind of like blending the edges a little bit and also over here. I quite like it. Is it the most perfecting blush formula that I've ever tried? I don't think so. I feel like on me, usually blush formulas that are a little bit more creamy usually are the most perfecting. But I do get the blurred out effect from this. I do understand it. But yeah, I still see like the glow of my skin through this. It looks kind of glowy, but it's just my skin. All right, time to take this off. All right, I feel like I'm looking a little crazy. We're at the point that this skin tint is getting a little bit too light. I'm gonna bronze it up, it's gonna be fine in the end. But like this is the lightest shade and I've been in the sun a bit, so please ignore. I feel like the brows are also like quite prominent. We are gonna move on to the light pink shade, to the shade called Petite. And I really wanna see what this formula does on not bare skin, because that kind of also changes how a formula performs. If you have more of a base for it to stick onto, because bare skin is not the most like sticky type of base. And also then it has even more to blur, like you kind of almost need the coverage of that blush. Like it needs to have a little bit of coverage to get that perfecting effect. So this pink is very cute, easy to blend. But yeah, still lets the glow of the base product shine through. A little bit of blending. This is a lighter shade in the range, I think, but there's also a peach. So if you want a light shade, but you don't want it to be a cool tone pink, there's also that. So this is the pink. And now for the last shade, we have the darker pink. And then in the end, I will just do a little bit of a blending action to get both cheeks to look similar. And this is definitely a little bit of a watermelon-y pink almost. Very summery. Like, yes, it's kind of toward that Barbie pink, but it's also a little watermelon-y. That's a really nice shade. I think this one might become my favorite. But I actually like all of these shades. I quite like the range. It is quite cool toned heavy. That's also why I bought 4 shades instead of, I don't know, 2. Because I do love cool tones. That is a really nice one. I think that one is the nicest one for me. That is really nice. So this was a Lucky Rose, the deeper pink. Okay, taking a little bit of Lucky Rose. I'm gonna be super blushed, but I'm hoping I can kind of make this look matchy. Even though it's not that far apart. Like, if I would go out now, people would not stop me in the street and be like, what is going on with your cheeks? I don't understand. Why are you wearing 2 different blushes? You crazy lady. Hard to make them look exactly the same, but this is what we're gonna be working with. I am feeling very blushed. I'm actually feeling really pretty. I really like the way my cheeks are looking. I'm not wearing a highlighter, but it's looking pretty like naturally glowy. It is not like a mattifying powder per se, in a sense that yes, it blurs, yes, it's a matte blush, but it still can kind of like mesh with what you have underneath. So you can use a more glowy base, or if you are a little bit more oily, it could be that this looks a little bit more like skin-like to satiny, kind of like satin. Not super glowy. There's no shimmer in this. It is a matte blush. So my initial thoughts, I like the colors of these. I think there's a great range of colors. I really like the amount of pigment that this has. At least for my skin tone, these were all like really easy to use, but also still buildable. Like, they had enough pigment to where you could manipulate them in a way that you want. It's not that you... Like, some blushes are so pigmented that they become hard to blend, and some blushes are so subtle that they are really hard to get to show up. I didn't have any issues with these. I really like the packaging as well. I think it's really like smart, compact. They made them really small without actually giving you less product. Right now these are 18.40 euros, but that's with like a opening discount of 20%. These are gonna be 23 euros. Nabla, as all other brands, has gone up in price, but I do feel like this is a pretty fair price for what you're getting. I feel like the whole product is very well thought out. It worked really well. It is just looking super nice and blushy, and I'm very happy so far. I have to try them more to see if they're gonna be my new favorites. I have to try them with different products and just see if I'm gonna reach for these over and over and over again. I think my current favorite matte blushes are the ones from Kaleidos, so we're gonna see if they can compete with those. But these are definitely more powdery, like in the formula, in the pen, in the way they blend. There's a powderiness to them, and I feel like the Nabla ones are just a little bit more stiff and dry. Not that it is bad, but it's a little different. And then that's gonna be it. I'm really excited about these. Let me know what you think, and then I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.